Before we begin, welcome to Still Missing. We dig into the world's most haunting, unsolved cases. New episodes every week. Subscribe so you don't miss a single case. On November 29, 1970, a man and his two young daughters were hiking in the Isdal Valley near Bergen, Norway, a remote, rocky gorge surrounded by steep mountain walls. In a secluded area among the rocks, they discovered the partially burned body of a woman. She was lying on her back with her arms raised in what investigators would later describe as a boxer's pose, a position caused by the muscles contracting in intense heat. The scene around her was disturbing. Nearby were the remains of a fire, an empty bottle of liquor, sleeping pills scattered on the ground, and a strong smell of burned flesh and gasoline. The woman's face was so badly burned that identification by appearance was impossible. Her fingerprints had been sanded or filed down, making fingerprint identification extremely difficult. Every label had been carefully removed from every piece of her clothing. She carried no identification documents, no wallet, and no personal items that could reveal who she was. She was completely anonymous. The Bergen police launched what would become one of the most extensive investigations in Norwegian history. The autopsy revealed that the woman had died from a combination of carbon monoxide poisoning from the fire and ingestion of a large number of sleeping pills. She had also consumed a significant amount of alcohol before her death. The burn marks on her body were severe, but concentrated parts of her were burned, while other parts were relatively intact. Investigators debated whether the burning was self-inflicted or staged by someone else. The official cause of death was initially listed as suicide, but as the investigation deepened, that conclusion became increasingly difficult to accept. The woman appeared to be between 25 and 40 years old, approximately 5 feet 4 inches tall, with brown eyes, dark brown hair that had been recently dyed, and small hands with short, carefully manicured nails. She was well nourished and in good physical health. Her dental work was extensive and of high quality, but the techniques and materials used did not match Norwegian or standard Scandinavian dental practices. Experts suggested her dental work was consistent with methods used in Southern Europe or Latin America. The investigation expanded when police traced 2 suitcases left at the Bergen train station. The luggage tags matched the description of the dead woman. Inside, investigators found a puzzling collection: wigs in several styles, multiple pairs of glasses with non-prescription lenses, clothing from different European countries, and creams and cosmetics. Every label on every item had been scraped off. This was not the behavior of a casual traveler. This was someone trained to leave no trace. Among the items in the suitcases was a notebook containing what appeared to be a coded series of letters and numbers. Investigators would later determine that these were abbreviations corresponding to places and dates, a travel diary written in a personal code. When deciphered, the codes revealed an extraordinary itinerary. In the months before her death, the woman had traveled extensively across Europe under at least 8 different identities, using fake passports from different countries. She had visited Bergen, Stavanger, and Trondheim in Norway. She had been to Paris, Hamburg, Basel, and Geneva. At each location, she had used a different name and a different nationality, sometimes claiming to be Belgian, sometimes South African, sometimes Italian. Hotel staff who remembered her provided remarkably consistent descriptions. She was quiet, well-mannered, and spoke several languages, including fluent German, French, English, and possibly Dutch and Italian. She was always alone. She always paid in cash. She was meticulous about her appearance and changed her look frequently. Different wigs, different glasses, different clothing styles. Several hotel employees noted that she seemed tense, watchful, and alert at all times, as if she was constantly aware of her surroundings. One receptionist recalled that the woman had asked specifically for a room with a view of the entrance, so she could see who was coming and going. The coded travel diary, the multiple identities, the fluency in multiple languages, the constant awareness, the meticulous removal of all identifying information, the high-quality dental work of unknown origin. the non-prescription glasses used for disguise, and the extensive solo travel across Cold War Europe, all of these pointed in one direction. The Isdal woman had all the hallmarks of a professional intelligence operative. In 1970, Norway was a NATO member state positioned on the northern border of the Soviet sphere of influence. Bergen, as a major port city, was a hub for naval intelligence activity. Foreign intelligence agents were known to operate in the region. The profile of the Isdal woman was consistent with what intelligence agencies call a courier, or illegal, an operative working under deep cover with no official diplomatic protection, using multiple identities to move across borders undetected. Norwegian police requested assistance from Interpol and sent the woman's fingerprints and dental records to law enforcement agencies across Europe and beyond. No match was found. The coded notebook was analyzed by Norwegian intelligence services, who confirmed that the entries corresponded to real locations and dates, but could not determine the purpose of her travels. Despite the massive scope of the investigation, no government or intelligence agency ever claimed her. No embassy inquired about her. No family reported a missing woman matching her description. The case was officially closed in 1971 with a ruling of probable suicide. But many investigators privately disagreed. Several former intelligence officers commented anonymously over the years. One retired Norwegian intelligence official told journalists that the case had been quietly monitored by military intelligence, but no conclusive link to any foreign agency was established. Another suggested that the Isdal woman may have been a burned operative, an agent whose cover was compromised, who was either killed by her own agency to prevent capture, or who took her own life under orders to avoid being taken alive. The Isdal Valley, Ice Valley, was harsh, unwelcoming terrain. It was not a place a tourist would visit. Either she chose this location deliberately for its isolation, or someone brought her there. In 2016, Norwegian broadcaster NRK launched a major new investigation into the Isdal woman case. Working with international forensic experts, DNA analysis was conducted on the remains using modern techniques. Isotope analysis of her teeth, which can reveal where a person grew up based on the minerals in their drinking water, suggested she had spent her early childhood in an area near the French-German border, possibly in the Nuremberg region of southern Germany. In 2018, the Bergen Police officially reopened the case. In 2022, forensic researchers announced progress through genetic genealogy databases, but no name has been publicly confirmed. More than 50 years later, someone somewhere knows who this woman was. Someone remembers her real name, her real face, her real story. The valley where she was found, Isdal. The Ice Valley gave her the only name she has ever been known by, the Isdal woman. Next week, a quiet English suburb. In 1998, a couple vanishes. For 15 years, their children keep cashing their pension checks, sending Christmas cards in their names, and telling the neighbors everything is fine. The whole time, the parents are buried in the back garden. The Wycherleys don't miss it. Cold War spy, trafficking victim, or someone who simply didn't want to be found. Dozens of countries investigated, and no one could see racket. Does your country have a similar Jane Doe case? Tell me in the comments. If the Isdal woman kept you watching until the very end, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and let the algorithm know this kind of content matters. This is Still Missing. Some cases never close.